So I think we can go ahead and get started. Again, my name is Marlon Taylor with CHA. And the purpose of today's meeting is to actually discuss the new mixed income development at Oakwood Shores and the Oakwood Shores community. And this new phase is phase 3-1. So in addition to that, we are looking to inform all CHA families of the upcoming development and that we are conveying our land for 53 mixed income units and 51, excuse me, units in the Oakwood Shores community. So I just kind of wanted to give everyone a quick overview of our discussion points for today. So we'll introduce our Oakwood Shores team, talk about the completed phases in the Oakwood Shores development, go through the overall master plan for the area, discuss what's happening right now with construction at one of our past phases, 508 Pershing, discuss the upcoming phase, Oakwood Shores phase 3-1, introduce a topic that is coming to the site as it relates to rental assistance demonstration, also known as RAD, discuss the timeline for the Oakwood Shores development, and then address any questions that we can get to in the time allotted for today's meeting. So with that, I'll pass it to Will Woodley with our development partner, TCB.
Thanks, Marlon. I'm Will Woodley. I lead development for the community builders in Chicago and the metropolitan region. We have some great development staff, particularly working at Oakwood Shores, Kamina Brooks, as well as Brittany Tolden. Unfortunately for you all today, they are both out this week. So I will admit that I'm standing in for them, but they have been working for years with the CHA on advancing the development of Oakwood Shores. So I'm excited today to stand in for them, but also work with the CHA and our partners today about talking about the next phase, 3-1. TCB is part of a partnership with Granite and Ujima as the master developers for this next larger sort of stage of Oakwood Shores. And we're gonna jump to the next slide that shows sort of what's been accomplished to date at Oakwood Shores, just as a reminder. And then we'll talk about the larger master plan for completing Oakwood Shores and what's currently under development. And then we'll jump to 3-1, which is, again, the phase of development that we're here to really focus on today, which is an upcoming phase. So this, for just as a reminder, Oakwood is this relatively large collection of blocks that you see here highlighted. It goes up to 35th Street down to 39th, aka Pershing, over to Lake Park to the east, and King to the west. To date, over 750 apartments have been completed and are fully leased. There are other there's also approximately 80 homeownership units that were completed some time ago. The phases completed today do advance the overall goal of having a mixed income development community at Oakwood Shores that consists of a mix of CHA households, other types of affordable apartments, as well as what's called market rate apartments, which really just means that the rents are, there's no restrictions to the rents. So again, we've completed over 750 today apartments, over 80 homeownership units were also completed. And we're going to talk, and then a lot of amenities have been completed too. Marlon, could you jump to the next page? Thanks. So here's an example of both some of the apartments as well as amenities. On the left-hand side are two earlier phases of what we we often refer to as walk-ups. These are 3-story apartment buildings that have apartments on first, second, third floors, different configurations. And these are similar to 3-1, what we'll be discussing in 3-1. These types of developments are being completed to infill the residential blocks at Oakwood Shores. But we've also had the opportunity to work with different partners to help deliver different amenities for the community. On the top right-hand side is essentially it's a Chicago Park District field house, or it's at least operated by the Chicago Park District, but it's the Arts and Rec Center at Ellis Park. A really important addition to all of Bronzeville. It's a field house with gymnasium, flex space, a pool, and exercise room and workout that was completed a handful of years ago. If you haven't been there yet, I would strongly suggest it. I'm biased, but it's the best Park District field house in the city. On the bottom right-hand side those are family apartments above, but on below that's a health center, community health center. It was operated by Mercy. We're not going to, obviously that's a big topic in the community, as it should be right now. It's not the topic for today. It will continue to operate as a medical center, and we aren't in charge of operating that. And I don't want to get into it too much today, but we are certainly advocating and doing what we can to ensure to make sure that the medical services provided there continue to be a benefit to Oakwood Shores. Other amenities that aren't on this page, the Oakwood Center is about a 5,000 square foot community meeting space for both events as well as different community meetings. Could be celebrations, but also meetings with local police, elected officials, informational sessions. And that actually, the Oakwood Center is relatively close, within a couple blocks or less of either of the two buildings that we're going to talk about today. Next page. So this is a summary of the CHA's updated master plan for Oakwood Shores. It speaks to completing a lot of the blocks that are currently, frankly, only half completed in terms of the infrastructure is there, but we need to kind of continue to provide the housing so that we sort of finish those blocks. It also speaks to building blocks and housing next to Ellis Park that you can kind of see up in the top left-hand corner of that master plan. But if you also can see with the sort of highlighted numbers, it's a lot of new additional homes, a combination of apartments and for sale, but it's well over 1,000 additional homes that still are to be developed at Oakwood Shores. Just for sake of comparison for folks who are watching, could you jump back to the couple slides back to sort of, there's like the existing phases. Yeah. So if everybody can kind of keep that visual in their mind, you can see what mostly has been completed in terms of residential blocks and units is the sort of bottom half right, and you can see there's a lot of vacant land in the to the left of this of the site. Yeah, exactly. We're Marlin, and so that's where we're really starting to focus on this next, on the updated master plan with the CHA. And that is part of the current development that's underway. We're going to show you. Could you put your arrow where 508 is? It's close to the Marianos. Yeah. So there's the current development that we're going to talk about in a second. That's occurring there, and then we'll show you exactly where 3-1 is, but it's also in the same vicinity. So if you kind of have this, fact in mind of what's been completed at Oakwood Shores. Now, Marlon, if you can jump back to the master plan. There you go. So yeah, it's, and if you could kind of circle that exactly. So it's all of that area, and then eventually, but not right now, future phases will move up to, just west, or on this image to the left of Ellis Park. Next page. So this was the development I was just talking about that's currently under construction. In addition to apartments, it's also going to provide some needed amenities to the community. It's a 4-story mixed-use development, and by mixed use we mean there are apartments on the top 3 floors, but on the bottom floor we're going to have community-oriented commercial development. We're still working on securing the exact tenants for that commercial space, but it's the types of businesses we're focusing on are restaurants, or perhaps some local small businesses, shops, that type of things. But we do want it to be kind of pedestrian oriented, so that it helps to improve sort of the feel of Oakwood Shores, including having small businesses and retail space where Oakwood Shores residents, but also just residents from Bronzeville and beyond throughout Chicago, come and visit, eat, shop, etc. So that's a goal with this development. We're really excited to have it underway. And it will be completed in the next several months. It should be completed in the first quarter, the first few months of 2022. Next page. Yep. So this is, these are the two. So this is tree 1, sorry, and you can see the 2 sites. There's 2 buildings that make up tree 1, and we'll get into those a little bit more, but they're a mix of apartment types, again, that align with the rest of Oakwood Shores rental phases, where not exactly, but close to a third of CHA households. There are types of affordable apartments and market rate apartments, or apartments with no rent restrictions on them. The buildings are along both Pershing and then 38th Street. Marlon, is there an ability to kind of zoom in on this just a little bit more? Might not be. So you can see right in between these 2 is actually that Oakwood Center. Yeah, there you go. That I was talking about. So they're close to this 5,000 square foot community meeting space, which is again a really nice amenity for residents of Oakwood, because it can be used for different types of celebrations, events, things like that. So The other good thing about 3-1 is it helps to complete Pershing, right? So Pershing is an extremely important corridor for the neighborhood. It's been really great to help participate in its revitalization. Mandrake Park has become an incredibly strong amenity for the greater community. And so, you know, obviously that's on Pershing. You can sort of see that on the bottom right of this image. And so this continues to improve Pershing. It also connects with the other development I just mentioned, 508, which is just a block away. So, you know, folks who live here would only be a block away from that development, which has the commercial on the ground floor. And it's also only a couple blocks away from Mariano's. And the other building, if you kind of look where it's at, it's also only, you know, I don't even know if I guess you got to go through the parking lot. So we'll call it, I was going to say it's almost like only a half block away, but you know, it's basically 2 blocks away from Mariano's, which also is, you know, a pretty great amenity for residents. So we're in the closing stages is what we call it. So we still have a lot of work to do, but it would start construction in by the end of this year is what we're all working towards. And it would be, these buildings would be completed and open for leasing at the end of next year. Next page, yeah. So this breaks out the income and unit types a little bit more. There's a combination of 1, 2s, and 3 bedrooms. One building is 30 units and the other building is 21. And you can see that there's, you know, between the different sort of unit types for public housing versus affordable and market rate, there's a good mix of 1, 2s, and 3s. I think that's enough for anything else that you would want me to mention on this one, Marlon?
Nope, I think that was good.
Okay. And then, you know, we're still refining the overall design. We have really efficient designs in terms of the way, you know, there's not a lot of wasted space with hallways or anything like that. So, you know, you sort of have good layouts for bedrooms, living rooms, closet space, etc. There's a lot of lines on these designs. Sorry, this is the sort of, you're seeing how we're working through everything with all of these dimensions and whatnot. But we're proud of the apartments that we've been able to deliver so far, and this will just kind of continue with that. So again, it's a mix of 1, 2s, and 3s. And that's it.
Thanks, Will. I'd like to introduce one of my colleagues, Joel Walton, actually with CHA, to discuss RAD with everyone.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Hey, can everyone hear me okay? There's someone obviously mowing their lawn right at the time I'm having my meeting. So if you hear that background noise, it is not my husband, it is probably my neighbor. So my apologies in advance. But thank you for having me today. Again, my name is Joel Walton. I'm the Deputy Chief of RAD Programming with the Chicago Housing Authority. And although we do intend to move this project forward under the RAD program, we thought that at a high level, it was necessary to just kind of go over what this is, because it is a little bit different from public housing. But although this is new construction and it's anticipated that existing residents in Oakwood Shores won't be impacted by this, but we'll just dive in a little bit. So rental assistance demonstration, that is what RAD stands for. It's a HUD program, so this is not something that's just solely of CHA's creation. We are more the implementers of HUD's program that changes the funding source for units from public housing under Section 8. So everyone is familiar with Section 8 and it being the tenant-based voucher program. But the Housing Choice Voucher Program covers also project-based vouchers where you have subsidy that's tied to a unit versus subsidy being tied to the person. That's essentially what RAD facilitates, is the movement of subsidy being tied to the unit as public housing, moving into an HCV platform where the project-based voucher subsidy is tied to the unit. That long-term Section 8 funding is a contract that starts off as 20 years, but it automatically and continually renews. So it's not one of those things where it's a short-term deal. And what this actually involves is that it allows for the owner, in this case, this is community builders, it allows for more secure funding because the Housing Choice Voucher Program happens to be more strongly funded than public housing is, but it also allows for external financing to be put into the deal. So there's ability to do tax credits as well as private loans and grants. And essentially you can go beyond just relying on HUD funding to be able to fund either improvements on the rehab side, but in this case, to fund new construction housing. So that more secure funding plus the ability to leverage other funds to support development is a primary reason why we're moving from a public housing platform to a Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher Program. Next slide, please. So let's think of RAD as a taxi. There's a couple of analogies that we try to use to describe what the RAD program is. But think of the RAD program as more of a journey versus the destination. So right now, all of Oakwood Shores is built within a mixed income context. So there's public housing there amongst other affordable and market rate housing. So the public housing units that are there and would, under a normal RAD conversion, would convert to Section 8 funding. In this case, we are starting with new construction. So there is a new process called Fair Cloth to RAD if someone is bored and wants to Google this. But essentially, it is development that starts out as public housing and that immediately converts to RAD. And immediate is more like 60 days. So essentially, it only stays public housing for a short time in order to qualify as public housing. But then it does, under the RAD program, convert to project-based voucher funding. So the analogy that's at here is that RAD is the taxi that essentially takes public housing, whether it's long-term public housing or short-term public housing, this will be, and transitions in it to project-based voucher funding under Section 8. Next slide, please. So that's essentially the process, but what does that actually mean for residents? Because that activity, that RAD program and RAD conversion activity really happens more at CHA and the ownership level, but how this actually boils down to residents is that it's really largely the same. So under public housing, residents for the most part pay 30% of their income towards rent. So they pay income-based rent. There is a option within public housing that residents can also pay a flat rent. This is usually paid by our residents that have higher incomes, where the flat rent is actually cheaper than 30% of income towards rent. But within the Section 8 programs, flat rent doesn't exist. So everybody pays income-based rent. So everybody would pay 30% of their income towards rent within this new development. This is really more applicable within an existing building that's converting, but if you were an existing building that was converting to RAD, no one is required to permanently move due to RAD. So things that are, with the exception of things that, on the path to eviction, if you're over income or if there's some, right sizing that has to be done, those kind of issues are grandfathered in an existing building because under the RAD program, there is no permanent displacement allowed. Leases will be renewed on a regular basis. I guess, again, of course, unless you're not lease compliant. So that is really no real change to that. But this is, I think, the biggest benefit that we communicate to residents of project-based voucher housing. If you are in a project-based voucher unit, whether that's RAD or otherwise, after completing a 12-month residency requirement or 1 year, residents in good standing can request a tenant-based voucher. So that's the subsidy that travels with you as the resident or you as the household. So just want to make clear that distinction is that these units under this phase are going to go project-based voucher where the subsidy is tied to the unit. But what this allows under this program is that being part of the HCV family, if you will, after you have been residing in that project-based voucher unit for a year, you can request a tenant-based voucher to move if you like. So with that, we maintain a wait list of folks that have been in our RAD project-based voucher units for a year, and it's not automatic. So let me make sure I make that clear. So it depends on when vouchers are available. So if people graduate from the program or become ineligible and vouchers become available in our system, that's when we actually make calls to the wait list. That can be a year. At this point, we're oversubscribed. That can be a couple of years. But we do highlight this as an option for those that are going to be residing in these units, that option is available once that 12-month residency is met. So this doesn't, like I said, again, this project is going what HUD calls fair cloth to RAD. So this is really applicable for any new residents after construction that move in that will be able to have that benefit. And this criteria would apply to, but this does not have an impact on the existing phases of Oakwood Shores at this time. I'll turn it back over to you, Marlon. Thank you.
Thank you, Jewel. I appreciate you going over RAD for our families here. I wanted to take some time to introduce our LAC president, Claudice Ware. If you'd like to briefly chat with our families on the line here. Introduce yourself.
Good morning. I do apologize for being late. I'm excited about our project moving forward. I really don't have anything of importance. I do have some questions, but I'll hold them to the very end. I do welcome our residents to ask questions if they have them. That's about it.
All right. Thanks, Claudice. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Before we jump into questions, I just wanted to quickly just recap our timeline for these particular two phases here. So as Will earlier, he mentioned that we are in our funding process right now. So ideally we'll be approved for funding the third quarter this year, as well as starting that subsequent phase, Oakwood Shores phase 3-1 around the same time thereafter. Following that, around February 2022, we are anticipating opening our phase 508 Pershing for leasing. And then lastly, we are estimated to open Oakwood Shores phase 3-1 in Q4, so the end of 2022. Just to give you all a perspective on the way we're targeting these milestones here. So again, we also, just in case anyone needs any further information that you may not have the opportunity to ask or think of later, my contact information is listed here, as well as our senior PM at the Community Builders, our development partner, Kamina Brooks, who Will mentioned wasn't able to join us today, but she'll be more than happy, and I'll be more than happy to assist with any questions that you all may have in the future if you are unable to get them out today. But at this time, I'd like to open the floor to any questions, and thank you all for joining and listening in here.
I have a question. Hello?
Yeah, sure. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just want to make sure. So he mentioned that some of the units are going to be for sale housing. And in Bronzeville right now, the housing are going for like $700,000, $800,000. Would some of that housing be looked at like for some of your tenants who do affordable housing or even just do market rent but can't afford $700,000 and $800,000 for a home? Would that be considered? Like, are you guys gonna build based on that? When you build, are you gonna look at the prices and consider that? Like, because it's a lot of gentrification going on right now. So you can't, they're basically pricing people who are affordable or even market rent out of the neighborhood.
Great question. And it's certainly one that we have been, that we've observed. What you're stating is something we've observed as well and are tracking. We're still working to kind of finalize the for sale approach for the next, over the next 2 years in terms of for sale development. It has frankly moved a little bit slower than we wanted it to, but it's priority for us now to get it advanced. And to answer your question, we don't have any specific like programs in place that are, for affordable for sale. But what we are trying to do is have a mix of for sale units so that they're not all 700,000 or even 500,000. I mean, we are definitely tracking that, like condos, a lot of the condos coming online, and they're big, but yeah, it's like 500 plus. And then single families, or like you're saying, I mean, you're seeing those in the 700s and above. And so we want to have more of a mix of for sale that would be a combination of unit types that would allow for a wider range of sale prices, which would hopefully help to provide great for sale opportunities, but at a significantly lower price. Sorry, I can't get more specific about it. It's a really important topic, and we're trying to kind of help address it for the reasons you stated.
And,
Thank you.
And then I wanna just jump in. This is Maya Hodari. I'm with CHA as well. And so just know that there are additional conversations between the Chicago Housing Authority and city departments to specifically look at how to support the creation of affordable for sale units. So Marlon, maybe that's a topic too that we need to have a future community forum on, to look at the resources and share the information.
Absolutely. Thank you, Maya, and I will. And Deanna, hopefully I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Thank you for that question. I'd like to open the floor up again to anyone else who might have a question regarding the development here.
I wanted to ask Jewel the question as it pertains to the RAD. I'm very familiar with how RAD works. My question is, because we're starting RAD in the mixed income, does that mean that because it's in the beginning stages, does this mean that those units will no longer be considered public housing units? And I understand the funding part, because public housing fund has began to dwindle away. I get it. So I guess I'm asking, would the housing authority still allow property officers to be responsible for monitoring those units, or will those units now become a part of the stock of HCV and they will be now monitoring it?
No, that's actually a good question, Ms. Claudia. Thank you for that. So yes, so we still will have involvement and engagement with those units. So as we are responsible for monitoring the public housing units and making sure that inspections are done, and that tenant files are in place, and other engagement that we have with management and ownership, we will be have that same role within these project-based voucher units. So no, our involvement is the same as it would be on the public housing side. But no, you're right, there would not be, from a financing side, be considered public housing units, but our engagement is the same.
Okay, my other question, will all the units be covered by RAD, from the market to the affordable at some point?
No,
Or
no, so
just,
this is,
just the-
this, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Or just the public housing units?
Just the public housing unit. So
Okay.
they will still have the other components there, but what RAD impacts is only the public housing unit.
Thank you, Jewel. Again, I must say, I'm so excited that we're moving Marla.
Of course, no problem. Thank you.
Thanks, Claudice. Yep, we all are excited for the development here. Anyone else want to offer any questions with the team here?
I have one more question. Will, have you all began to start the leasing process? I know the 508 is not coming on until the end of the year, but normally we start working with the 10199 families who have a right of return a year out so that they're prepared to lease up with no problems whatsoever.
That's a good question, Claudice. And Claudice, you know, Kamina almost as well as I do. I don't know where the conversations are at in terms of sort of the pre-leasing, to be completely honest. I don't know, Marlon or Maya, if you wanted to speak to this too, but let me say this first. First of all, Claudice, I totally know what you're saying, and you're right that you really we need to make sure that we're doing that well in advance to give right of return households as much opportunity as early as possible, so that if they do want to choose an apartment there, that they have the time to kind of get themselves ready for moves and whatnot. And that needs to be a priority. I can tell you that I think it's, you know, it's a good point, Claudice, because it would seem like it's close to time to start doing that, but I don't want to speak for others who are frankly smarter than me on this specific topic. I don't know, Maya, if you wanted to just add anything on that one.
Thank you, Ms. Ware. So I think we should schedule a specific meeting to sit down with Ms. Ware, or have a virtual meeting just to lay out the rollout with Sonia Franklin, and I think it's Katrina Green and our occupancy staff.
And the service providers, because they're the ones who's providing the services, correct?
Yep.
All
So
right.
we'll pull in Nikisha Beatty as well, and
Okay.
it'll be centers. Yeah. So Marlon, we can follow up on that and put something on our calendars based on Ms. Ware's availability ASAP.
And I'll just add, it's a really good point. I don't think, if, you know, maybe it should be started right about now. I don't think we're like grossly behind or anything like that, but I do think it's thank you for pointing that out, that, and I bet Kamina and Brittany already have that moving. But as soon as she's back at the end of this week, I'll follow up with her as well on that topic. So it's a good one to start now. Thanks.
Great.
Thank you all.
And Claudice, I'll actually share an invite with you, or work on the background to get something on your calendar that works for your schedule.
Yes, okay. Thank you.
No problem. Okay. The floor is still open if anyone would like to ask any additional questions. Okay. If not, I wanted to again thank you all for joining this outreach today, and we are super excited for the projects to come and these mixed income developments. And if you have any further questions, again, my contact information is listed here. And this recording shall be sent out to everyone, just so if you may have missed anything or wanted to see any further details regarding the units or anything like that, feel free to reach out to me or just reference the presentation that will also be mailed to you all. If nothing else, I wanted to also just thank Will, Jewel, Ms. Claudius Ware, for jumping in here and providing their insight on the Oakwood Shores Phase 508 and 3.1. So thank you all for your participation, and enjoy the rest of your morning.
Take care.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Marlon, I'll see you this evening.
Okay, thank you.
All right.